You going?
Yep.
All right, kids. I'm going to, since some of you are not done with the grid transfer, I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on what to do when you are done if you want to start painting the mummy coffin. Number one, I think right here behind me, between the two pencil sharpeners, that is going to be where I have the paint and the palettes and the brushes for this part of the project. It is tempera paint, and we will first get, if you can see this palette, I went over to the sink and I just let it drip, and I've kind of filled this paint tray up with mainly water. It doesn't take but just a drop, I mean, believe me. So we'll go to the blue and just get a drop. Get one of these brushes and just make a real watery mix. It needs to be super runny. Most of this water is going to be in our paint, okay? And actually, you can just get the real watery paint here and put it in the water. And we're going to use a little paint on our paintbrush and then dip it in the water and do that way. These lines, we want to try to just touch our paintbrush to the coffin lid where it runs down those lines. It should be really runny and kind of fill in those cracks like a river. And if we do this right, we can just kind of angle our thing down, our coffin lid down, and just touch those lines and fill them up with that paint, okay? That's a lot better than trying to paint individually down in these cracks with a tiny little like toothpick or something. We're just gonna make it watery and let it, yeah, if you wanna get it here close so you can see what I'm doing. Now, it's okay that this looks kind of messy and you're gonna see a lot of blue on places where we don't want it, and that's gonna be fine. And Logan, if you can close up this, see, I'm just touching this crack with the water and you can see how it's just really flowing down that crack. So that's what we wanna do. I'm not really brushing it so much as I am just dotting it and touching it. Wherever those cracks are, we want to fill it in with blue. If you even want to go down the side in here on the inside, that would be okay. All this stuff is going to be covered over with our gold, so we're just trying to get it down. What will happen after we do this and we cover it with gold, it will really bring out, it will accent those lines. So we're just trying to kind of darken those lines in a little bit before we cover it. And it's much easier to do that before we paint it gold. So our first step, and we will get a placemat, if you, like, look, I messed up and I got some here, that will be okay. We can maybe sponge that off, or we'll cover that with gold. But the less that you can get on this surface that we're going to be covering with gold, the better, because that's just more work to try to cover that up. So I'm just constantly kind of dipping in my paint and into the water and tapping that brush head on there to fill in those cracks. Tap, tap. I'm not really brushing it as much as I am just kind of dotting it and letting that flow in there. If you get it on the surface, that's okay. Like right there, I kind of did, but we'll cover that over with gold. If you can try to keep it off, like what we don't want to do is just paint it totally blue. We just want to dot that in there and let that water fill in those cracks. Watery paint filling it. All right, now, after we do that all, the little hieroglyphic symbols, maybe the crack here on the side. After we do this all, we want to let this dry out 5 minutes. At least. While this is drying, Make sure you get all the cracks filled in. So I see a couple places where I missed there on his shoulder, and maybe his arm there, on the side too. Side here. All right, that's pretty good. We've got all those cracks filled in. Just let them vibe here and wash this out super good. Now, we don't need a video on how to wash this out, but we want to make sure on our next step that our brush is super dry. So wash this out, wash your brush out, and then take paper towel and dry it super good. All right, go ahead and shut this off, and then we'll do step 2.